Stacy with So Steady, and I have one of our newest educators in training here by the name of Julie Pace. Some of you might recognize that name because Julie has been on many of our lives over the last couple of years. Is that right, Julie?
Am.
That's right. So she is going to be our educator and showing us the amazing designs that she has created using some of her artisan templates today. So our artisan sampler set was released in this summer, but we have had Leonie West created some amazing designs with the artisan templates. There's, I think, almost 80 different designs in this line. And what really it comes down to is this unique template opportunity where you can create multiple sizes of designs or multiple block sizes with one template. And I'm really excited for you to show them all about that today, Julie, and then show them some of the different designs that you have right there in your template library. And then it sounds like you've got something great in store for us as far as your a unique block design and a unique way of being able to encompass one of our awesome circles and straight strips. So I'm super excited. Just as a reminder, we have an opportunity for you to win one of these artisan templates. So I'm going to go ahead and post a link to that Facebook post. We do want to see if you guys can do some shares today, get some of these shares going on this. We'll have the opportunity to go ahead and give away $10 in So Steady credits to our website for every 25 shares. So let me go ahead and have you take it away now, Julie.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're super excited like I am. Clementine here has been acting up today, so I have changed her name to Wanda because she's being fishy. So I'm going to start with the Artisan Curves template here, and I hope you all can see this. I'm going to try to hold it over the red fabric for you. And how it works is you have a pin that sits in the center, and this template can rotate around the pin. Depending on how many rotations that you do, you can increase the size of the design and the look and the feel of the design. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of these templates. This is the square. It's number 91. It is a 1-inch square. And then we have irises, we have circles, we have ovals. So I'm just going to pull out a few of them and show you. This is one of the smaller irises, the 1x3. And then there is a little bit larger iris, which is a 2x3. I'm hoping that you guys can see that. Is everybody able to see it with the red background?
Yeah, you can see it great. I don't know if there's any way to bring the camera any closer. Don't worry about it if not, but that might, and then bring it up a little bit, and they might be able to get a little bit better visual on it.
How about I hold it while we do that? Is that going to be better?
That's great right there, Julie. I think you're good.
Okay.
If you can just keep it right there. No, you don't need to hold it.
Okay.
I might get a little wobbly.
All right. So back to the irises. Here's your larger one. This is number 23, which is a 3x3 iris. And on each of these artisan templates, you'll notice that there's little numbers starting right here with the 7. It goes all the way up to 18, which means if you have the pin on number 7 and you put your template on that pin in the center of your block and you stitch this out around all of your rotations, you will end up with a 7-inch design. So this goes all the way up to 18 inches. So you can do blocks as big as 18 inches. Well, actually bigger, with an 18-inch iris in the middle. And that goes with all of the Artisan Curves templates. They all kind of function like that. They work off of a pin system that you put in the middle of your block. Now, they've got marquees and curved marquees. So I'm going to show you one of each of the curved marquees and the marquee templates just to give you an idea and a feel for the template itself. That is the curved marquee. That is number 85. It is a 2x3 design. And then I'll show you a regular marquee as well, just so you get the idea of what that looks like. This is template number 75. It's a 1.5 by a 3. So let me move these out of the way. I did the basic circles and ovals today. So what I used is what came in the Artisan's template sampler. So I have the number 66 here. I have the number 7 circle, which is a 3-inch circle. And I also used the number 4 circle, which is a 1.5-inch circle. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of how to plan a block with these Artisan curves. It's really simple, but first I'm going to go ahead and give you the stats on everything. I am using a 90-14 needle. I just use a universal needle. I really don't use anything different than that. I do recommend, because I do use these, this is a Magic Bobbin Genie. It just helps your bobbin rotate a little bit better. It's kind of like the glider that is on your table. It helps the bobbin go around just a little smoother when you're in free motion. Now, I did have a couple of questions and I did want to address it. A lot of people like these pre-wound bobbins. Now, depending on your machine is depending on what style you have, but I had asked somebody that was having problems with them if they were using their bobbin pin. And what this is it is an insert that goes into your machine just like your regular bobbin does, and you put these pre-wound bobbins on it. And what that does is it makes the height of that bobbin the same as your regular bobbin. So that's sometimes why we have problems, is that they're not using the bobbin pin. So if you use pre-wound bobbins, make sure you do that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to plan out an Artisan's curve. And I hope people can see this. It is white paper. I'm going to try to turn the stadium lighting down on the machine a little bit. Hopefully that will help with some of the glare since it's white. Is that a little bit more helpful? Okay.
Yeah, Julie, that looks great.
So what I did was I basically laid out an original 16 marks all around the block using an 8-point crosshair ruler. These are wonderful for getting all your marks in place. And then you just spin it around, line up the lines again to get your rotations. Then what I did is I took and did another 16 marks. Now, what was very useful to me is, of course, I used the Sew Steady sheets here. I usually turn those over unless I'm planning a design that has to have very accurate lining, because the lines sometimes interfere with my vision. I just had eye surgery, so that's why it kind of does that for me. So on the back of this, what I did was I used a couple of different pen colors, and I did that on the block as well. Now, it's harder to see on this red block, but when I bring over my stitching block, you'll be able to see the 2 different colors. I have it marked on this block with blue and white, and then the one that we're going to be stitching out today, I have it marked with pink and blue. And I did that so that you guys could see it a little bit easier. So I'm hoping that is able to be seen. The reason I mark these with different colors is because that helps me when I'm moving the template around in circles and I'm trying to line something up. I know which mark I need to hit on my next line. So as I was designing this, I thought, well, it's easy to stitch around in a circle and do that all over, but what if we cut the design in half? What if we stitched part of the oval here and then split that and stitched the other part of the oval up here? What you get is a really cool looking flower. And then I use the circles to make more echoes on the outside. And you can use some template fuse and cut different designs out of this. So there's a lot of things that you can do with Artisans just by looking at the template a little differently. And what I did was when I went and stitched them out, when I hit the line, I would stop. I would move the template, rotate it, and start again. And then that way it makes this really cool center design. So let's get started making the center design. Now, I am not going to bore you and make you sit here and watch me stitch all these out, but I do kind of want to show you how you get started with it and how you might want to go and split that design. So I'm going to get back to this number 66 here. And on this design, I'm going to give you the specifics and then we'll go ahead and do a little bit of stitching. So for the first 16 rotations that are marked out, now I marked this at a 12.5-inch block. The fabric pieces are cut at 15 inches. I do that a lot of times because sometimes I like a little bit thicker sashing. Sometimes I want to add some decorations. Sometimes I want to enlarge the block. There might be other things I might want to add to it when I'm done. So I do like a little bit of extra fabric because as you're stitching, that fabric does draw in. So the first 16 rotations, which is the center design here, is at with the number 66 template on the number 8 pin. So we'll just go and find hole number 8. We'll sit it on top of the pin, which I am having a time seeing because I got my light off. And then what we're going to do is we are going to line up. On mine, I have it to line up with the pink lines at first. And if you notice on the block, there are going to be 16 pink lines and 16 blue lines. So we're going to just start on the 16 pink lines. And I'm going to pull up right on a pink line. So I want to drop the needle in and pull the bobbin thread up. We're going to pick up our bobbin thread. And depending on how many times we stitch over this is going to be if we, well, we're going to pick up our bobbin thread again because it didn't want to pick up.
Hey, Julie, I was going to make a quick comment. For some reason, there is some feed whenever we're both talking, so I'm going to mute you while I talk. But there was a couple questions that came in. One of the questions that came in had to do with where you found that bobbin pin. And then the other question was, what thread works best for template fuse? So I'm going to unmute myself again and unmute you, and you can respond.
Okay. I got my bobbin pin with my baby lock machine. So you will have to go to whatever machine dealer that gave you your machine and ask them where that spare bobbin pin is. They will know what you're talking about. Just tell them that you like to use pre-wound bobbins. That's if your machine doesn't already accommodate a pre-wound bobbin. My machine does not. It uses a J bobbin, and most pre-wound bobbins are an L bobbin. So I have to use the special bobbin pin for that reason. And then the thread that I am using today is a 40 weight glide thread. I am going to be using this very, very bright fuchsia color. I wouldn't normally do that. I would normally blend it with the background, but then you wouldn't be able to see it, so that wouldn't be helpful at all. The whole purpose of this is for you to be able to reproduce these designs. Now, on the template, you will see a line at the top, and there's a line that goes all the way through your artisan curves. So you're going to line that up on one of your main rotation lines. And then all we're going to do is start stitching. Now I'm going to hold these threads as I start. And we're going to start out kind of slow. And just kind of let this glide along. We're going to go around. And then when we see the next rotation line, we're going to stop. Now, normally at this point, I wouldn't turn the fabric, but if I don't, it'll probably go off the camera. So I'm going to turn the fabric and skip one of my pink rotation lines, line up on the next rotation line, and start stitching again. And again, we are splitting this design. We are just going around the bottom of the template for right now. I'm going to do one or two more of these, and then I am going to move on to the next section because I am very confident that you do not want to see me stitch out all 16.
Okay, while you're stitching, there's a question that came in that I thought we could answer here momentarily. Where can I get a multi-point grid is the question. Okay, I'm going to mute my.
A multi-point grid. Are you talking about the 8-point crosshair grid? That is also made by Sew Steady. It is the one that I used for this. This is a 12.5-inch crosshair grid. It's got 8 different markings, but there are, let me pull this red fabric again so that you can see the markings a little bit clearer. There are white lines here where you can rotate, even though this only has 8 different holes for you to use a tool. And currently I am just using a iron off fabric pen or an iron off chalk pen to do my markings, but you can use a Choco liner. Sew Steady has those available. The marking tool that you're comfortable with is the one I suggest that you use. And always test, test, test. The other thing I will tell you is that I do starch. I am a heavy starch fan. My fabric could get up and walk right out of here. It is that starched. The reason I starch so well is because some of the marking tools tend to leave a white residue when you iron them off. But if you're not actually marking on the fabric, they don't leave that residue. And what I mean by that is, since you put the starch into the fabric, and I actually starch things twice, I soak my fabric in starch with a 50-50 mixture, and then I dry it, iron it, and then right before I mark every piece, I go ahead and spray starch on it again. And that way it kind of gives the fabric a little shield, kind of like Scotch Guard does, so that when spills happen, your couches don't stain. It's the same principle behind that. If you starch your fabric well, these marks aren't going through the fabric. They're sitting on top of the starch. But your 8-point crosshair grid, Sew Steady has a collection of different crosshair grids. I know that they have a 32, a 24, an 8-point, a 6-point, and a 5-point. They've got them in a 12.5-inch square size, an 8.5-inch square size, and then they've got the mini set as well. And Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's a 6-inch set.
The mini,
The mini.
those are 3-inch.
Okay, so your mini crosshair rulers are going to be a 3-inch, but they will have either a 8-point, a 6-point, or a 5-point mini crosshair ruler. I actually marked it with my 12-inch crosshair ruler. I'm going to stitch 1 or 2 more of these, and then I'm going to move to the next section. And again, all I did was line up with that. I skipped one of my pink lines, And then I went to the next pink line, lined up the center point of the Artisans, and then I'm skipping this line, moving to this line. I'm lining up this line with one of my pink marks, and then I'm going to head out and stitch another rotation. Now I'm going to stop at this point. Normally I wouldn't cut the threads, but I'm trying to do this a little bit quicker for you so that you're not sitting there bored stiff by me stitching all day. Although this is fun for me, it may not be fun for you. Now, it's at this point that I would pull up my threads. Once I got all of my rotations stitched, I would pull up my threads, I would knot them off, I would take them through the back, and if I'm going to template, and with the template fuse, I always bury my threads from the back because sometimes I really don't know what part I'm going to cut out for the template until I see the end result. Now, yes, I did plan this block where I know which parts I'm going to cut. Of course, once I see it stitched out, that could change. So when I bury threads, if I'm doing template, I like to take the threads to the back, tie the knot on the back, and then bury them from the back side, because I don't ever want to maybe cut something away and then you see threads going through there. So it's just a precaution. It's not absolutely necessary, especially if you know that you have buried your threads in the batting. But I'm an over planner. I am more of a plan chaos kind of gal. So I try to miss any opportunity to make a mistake when I can. And that's what I do to prevent that when I template. Now, if I'm just simply stitching, I can bury my threads from the top side. Now, the next set of rotations that we did, or that I did for this drawing, was I came out here with the number 66. I put the pin on the number 12 spot. So again, if I put this pin on a number 12 spot and I stitch this entire design with it, what size would that make? Come on, I want to see comments. I want to see somebody answering the correct answer. Anybody? What size would this make if I stitched all the way around the template if the pin was on the number 12? I'm hoping that you all answered 12 inches because that would be correct. However, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to again split this design. Instead of going over through the whole circle, I'm going to stitch from basically half of the template, and I'll tell you how I made this so that it is much easier for you to do without having to try to see these little white lines through your fabric. The reason that I marked another 16 rotations was because I wanted to put some other interesting things just to give it a little bit of flair and bling. But the other thing that you can do, since these are in a different color, now when we go around with the template, I can start on my blue color. So I'm going to go up to where I can drop my needle and pick up my thread on any one of these blue lines, because out here as we go around, we don't need to skip every other one. I made this so that it's a joining design. That way you only have to bury the threads one time. So it's more of like a continuous line design. So I'm going to hold the thread. I'm going to needle down, needle up, pull up my bobbin thread. And pull out my bobbin thread. And my tweezers have walked off. Okay. And now I'm going to make sure the needle goes down over the same hole where I pulled up the bobbin thread. I'm going to get a hold of these threads, hold them in the other hand as I hold the template. Um, I do get a lot of questions about stable tape. Now, it is probably one of the most important secondary tools that you have in your kit is stable tape. It is a must for these templates. You are basically using these templates to walk your fabric all around this glider. And if you want your template to stay in place, you need a stable tape on the back side of it. I use it anywhere I'm going to place my fingers on that template to stitch out the design. So just because I have it put in these spots may not necessarily mean that you need to put it in those spots. What I usually do, and I'll show you here in a minute, is when I go to place stable tape on a template, I'll set that template down. I'll put my hands on it just like I was getting ready to stitch, and then I will let it move a piece of fabric. And I will see where my fingers want to be placed on that particular template. And that's exactly where I want to place the stable tape. Now, on this part of the stitch out, we did the bottom part of the design. Now we're going to do the top part of the design. And what makes this more of an open flower, if you will, we're going to go from blue line to blue line now with our stitches. So we're going to just take a couple of little stitches here at the beginning to get us started. And then I'm going to go ahead and go around the top of the template until I see the next blue line. And then we're going to rotate this. Now, let me try to pull this thread out of the way because I know it's going to get in our way soon enough. I'm going to stitch a couple of these and then move on to the next. Now, I am lining up the center line with a pink line, and then each of these blue lines are my start point and my stop point on the template. That way, I've kind of taken the guesswork out of where you need to start and stop on the template. And it allows us to use this Artisan template in a brand new way. It's exciting, the things that you can do with one of these templates. I'm going to stitch out one more of these. I'm going to rotate to the next pink line, line up my center marks with it, and then as I come around, I'm going to start on the blue line and stop on the blue line. And from where I'm sitting, I can actually see the needle right here on the inside, so I can see where it stops and starts. Okay, that is what you would do all the way around the outside of the template. What that makes, and I hope you all can see this, I'm going to go ahead and just cut my threads here. Take the template off. Move that to the side because that's the last time we're going to use that particular template. What that makes here, can you guys see this gold thread okay? I actually started to use red thread, and then I realized halfway through the stitch out that there would be absolutely no way you could see it. So I stitched it out with gold thread, and I did the same thing. In this instance, I lined up the center marks on the template with the white mark and started from a blue line, stopped on a blue line, lined it up with the next white mark, started on that blue line, stopped on the blue line. I went all the way around the template, and it makes this big, beautiful open flower. It's really pretty. Now on the inside, once you go around with that template, and remember we're going around the bottom of that template, it makes this cute little bitty flower. Now I'm going to take one of these pins off just to show you what I have done in my layers. I have got this, of course, this is stitched down, so I can't pull it up too much for you guys, but I have got a couple of layers going on. So we've got our background fabric, we've got our batting, we've got our peaker fabric, and that has Temply Fuse on the back of it. And then I'm got my top fabric sitting on top. So any of these closed areas in here, we can actually cut away and use that as our Temply Fuse if we want to cut away that part. Really, the hardest part of the Temply Fuse is deciding exactly what you want to leave and what you want to cut.
Hey, Julie, we do have another question coming in. They were curious, what was the name of the template that you used just there?
Okay, that is the Artisan's Curve number 66. It is a 2.5 by 3-inch oval. It has a line for your center line. It's got a line on the center line on the oval as well. But as I'm stitching, sometimes it's really hard to stop on those exact lines with your needle as you're stitching around a curve. So I thought it would just be much easier to do 16 more marks and stop on each one of those points. Because as your artisan curve goes around, the way they were designed, they rotate in a circle. So it's perfect to do that type of design with. Now we are going to move on to the very next thing in this design. And if we look at our sheet here, there's a couple of different things that we can do. Now, the reason I decided to open this up, and if I've got time today, I will actually show you how it works, is on the inside, we've got all these fancy decorative stitches on our machine that we pretty rarely use. So if you were to maybe put on your universal circles and straight tool, you can put this in the center just like you're rotating the design and use one of your decorative stitches in the middle. You could free motion in the middle. There are so many possibilities by doing a design like this. But I'm going to get back to the template stitching for now. Now, the next part of this, I use the number 4 circle, and that is this circle right here. Hopefully you can see it. If you need me to turn up the lights or bring out the red fabric, just let me know. And I use that with the pin number 12. And I wanted to make sure that everybody knew how to use their echo guides. That's another thing that we can do with this template. We can use our echo guides. Echo guides look like this. They come in a package. There are 3 of them in there. This is a 1-inch echo guide. This is a 3/4 inch echo guide. And this is your 1/2 inch echo guide. And what this does is you place it on the bottom of the foot. And when you do place it, there are little numbers here. I'll hold up the 1 against this red fabric so that you can see the numbers. There are little numbers here at the bottom, which tells you which echo guide it is. And what that basically means is this is a 1-inch circle. And you want to insert this on the bottom of your foot where you are reading the number right side up. If you look at your foot really closely, on the bottom of it is kind of a curved edge. So it fits in these echo guides really well if you take the curved edge. Oh, and the other interesting thing about the echo guides is there's a little hole right here for your thread to go through. So say I hadn't cut my thread and I wanted to make an echo around what I just did, which you could absolutely do it that way. I could just pull up my foot, pull up my needle, stick this through, place it back on the foot, And you don't have to cut your threads. There's actually a place where your thread can go right through. Now, what I am doing is snugging this up on my foot, and then I'll make sure that my thread is coming out. Now, sometimes when you put these echo guides on, if you don't get them on the foot enough, you'll see that your fabric doesn't slide quite as easily. I've got it a little bit better, but it still needs to come up just a scotch. And they slide on and off, so it's really simple to do. You don't have to worry about anything. But what an echo guide will allow you to do is take this 1.5 inch circle, and we're basically taking half of an inch off of it with this echo guide. And if, for example, I put on the 1 inch echo guide, we would have a little tiny circle in the middle of it stitched out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up on a pink line again. Or actually, no, I am going to line up, excuse me, on a, no, I was right, on a pink line again, right inside this oval. And let me get a hold of my thread here. I'm going to needle down, needle up, pull up my thread, and I'm going to show you a nifty little trick, because I'm going to place a circle in each one of these little oval petals. Now, if I were to do that and I needled down and needled up on every single circle, that would be 16 different times I would have to bury threads. Now, I'm a little bit lazier than wanting to bury the thread 16 times, especially if I'm doing a project for just me or somebody that I know. If it's not a show quilt, I'm probably not going to bury that many threads. So I am going to go around this circle twice. I'm going to move my thread over here out of the way. As I get closer to where that thread came up, I'm going to hold it again. And as I come around, I am basically locking that thread into place. So now I do not have to bury that thread. And I'm going to do the same thing at the end here. I'm going to take tiny, teeny, tiny little stitches, and then I can cut my threads. And then when I move along, I can take and just cut these off. But that gives us a really cute little circle that we can come in and either do some free motion quilting or do your template views on. I'm going to do one more of these. I'm going to line up with the next pink mark. And again, I'm going to pull my thread to the back. Usually when I put my foot down, I'll come to the kind of the center of the template, put your foot down, and then I'll slide it into place. That way you don't run the risk of hitting the template and cracking the template. So I'm going to needle down, needle up. I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to pull up my bobbin thread. I'm going to take my tweezers and come in here, pull it out of the way. Then I'm going to hold it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm going to hold those bobbin threads out of the way as we start stitching. Okay. And I can see that. Okay. Now, when I go around this time, it's kind of locking those stitches right in place. And then I'm going to do really teeny tiny little stitches at the end. And I'm just going to cut my threads. And then that's how you use an echo guide in these artisans. That way, I don't just have one artisan's template now. I have several because I could use it at this size. Then I could use the 1/2 inch echo guide. That's a second separate template out of just one template, just by using your echo guides. Now, to take this off the foot, you basically just slide it down. And again, remember, when you attach these to your foot, you want to be able to read that number from the right side. If you've got it flipped over, the number will be backwards. So make sure you always put this on the foot from this side. Okay, what I was saying about stable tape and the templates from before, I left a template over somewhere to kind of show you what I meant by attaching stable tape to a template. Let's see if I see it real quick. I do not. I must, there it is. Okay. So I intentionally left stable tape off of this template right here. The reason I did that is I kind of wanted to show you how I put stable tape on. Let me just cut these threads, get them out of our way. These threads I would actually bury when I went all the way around, but I didn't go all the way around. So I'm just going to cut them and get them out of our way. With this template here, I left the stable tape off. I did it intentionally because as I'm using this, I would place this on a pin to be able to rotate it around my quilt. Or my quilt block, doesn't matter. But I need to figure out where I'm going to place my hands. And that lets me kind of know where I'm going to put stable tape on it. As soon as I find out where I want stable tape to be on that, as soon as I find where I'm basically going to place my fingers, this is most comfortable for me. My hands are, I would say, medium size. Some people have small hands. Some people favor a hand. But you basically want to find out where you're putting your fingers. And then you don't need a lot of this. It's a really good piece of equipment. I wouldn't be able to use templates without this. And then I just basically place a small piece anywhere I'm going to set my fingers on the template. And that keeps that template stable and it keeps it from sliding on the fabric. I would normally put 4 pieces, but this is for demonstration purpose, so I'm going to just use 2. But that keeps that template from moving. It takes a little bit of pressure to actually move it out of place. So as I'm using this, I basically use this to slide my quilt block or my quilt around. See how easy that moves over a glider? So it doesn't take a lot of pressure to put on these templates to be able to use these templates. It's basically a matter of placing your fingers where you're most comfortable. And then once you've got your ruler in the ruler foot in there, you just kind of use it to glide the fabric around. And that's how easy it is to use these templates. Now we're going to go back to the design. We're going to look at what we want to do next. And the next thing we're going to do is I made these little places right here where you can still use the number 4 with the pin number 12. And I'm using this as a mandala type design. Now I put on there NE, and for me that means no echo. So I took the echo guide right off my foot, and then I'm going to come in, and this is where the blue lines come into play. Yay, we finally get to use the blue lines. Now, I'm just going to pull up my thread where this outside part of the oval begins. So I'm going to needle down, needle up, pull up my bobbin thread, use my tweezers to pull that up. I'm trying not to get in your way with the camera, so I'm doing this at a little bit of odd angle for me. And then we're going to needle down in that position again. And since I would be using this to temply cut, I would want to run two different arcs or two different passes of thread on this. Number one, that allows me not to have to bury the threads every single time, because again, this would be a lot of times burying the thread. Okay, and all I did is I went from this part of the oval to this part of the next oval, and I lined up my center line on that blue mark. Now, if you want to take an echo from this, you can take this template and you can shift it up to number 13 or 12 and a half, whatever you like to do. Let's go with 12 and a half. Now we're going to have to do a little bit of travel stitches to get to the position to stitch out this particular echo. And what travel stitches are, is it allows you not to have to cut and break your thread to be able to get to your next position. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go really super slow, and I'm just going to walk just a couple of stitches up on that oval shape to get to my next position. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to use this and I'm going to go across this, and it makes a perfect echo. Now, to get to our next position, we've got to travel around this oval. So again, I'm just going to go slow. I'm going to go, because you can see your needle through the ruler foot. I'm just going to move very slowly until I think I'm in the right position. I'm going to line up this line on the next blue line. And look at that. I went to the perfect spot. I don't know how that happened. Don't even ask. And I'm going to make the outside echo first this time, because it's already on pin number 12 and a half.
Hey, Julie, it does look like your arm is kind of in the way while you're sewing, and I don't know if that's can be fixed at all, but wanted to give you a heads up that it is hard to see.
We'll fix that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this template back down to the pinhole 12, but I need to travel down a little bit on this oval. So I'm just going to go down a couple of stitches. I'm going to take this off of the 12 and a half, relocate it to the pin number 12. And it looks like I backtracked a little too much, just one stitch. So now I'm going to go, I'll rotate this so that my arm is not in your way. And then I'm going to go and take off and do the next set, just keeping that foot by the template. Now, again, I'm going to do this. I'm going to backtrack because I do want to temply this bit. So I'm just going to backtrack using this template. That way you get perfect little echoes in this section. Now, I did that on every part of the flower. And all you have to do is kind of walk along that template to backtrack. But we are going to move along because you don't want to see me stitch that 16 different times. The next part of this, I used the larger circle, the size number 7. This makes a 3-inch circle, but we're not really going to use it to make a 3-inch circle. We're going to use it to make a larger shell of an echo on these. Now I'm just going to cut these threads because remember we stitched it twice. So I want to line this up on pin number 13 this time. I do want to pull that thread out a little bit. And I'm going to line this up on the secondary marks. So in my case, it would be the blue marks. I'm going to come up here to where I see the oval to kind of position where my needle is going to be on that oval. I'm going to hold my thread, needle down, needle up. I missed the mark a little bit, but we're not going to tell anybody about that. And then I'm going to pull my bobbin thread up, get that out of the way, put my foot back down, and I'm going to take off and do the echo here. And again, I'm going to use this and I'm going to stop wherever it touches the stitch line. Now on this, I'm going to do 3 passes on this because it's kind of my end part. And if I want to cut this little piece away, I want to make sure those stitches are secure. So I'm just going to go back along this template. Oh, I missed the line. Oh no, I missed the line entirely, guys. What do I guess I got to take it all out, right? No, you don't. You've got 2 passes of stitches in here. So I will show you how to fix this little mistake in a minute if it is that big a deal to you. Most people wouldn't even see that. But what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this template to line up with the next blue line. And we're going to make this pass right here. And then I'm going to move along to kind of the next step in this process. I'll show you how to fix that little blurb that I made. And if we've got time, I'll go over the circle and straights tool. And if not, I'll be here for questions. Now, it looks...
Oh,
Yes.
Julie, I was going to let everybody know real quick. There was a question or a request that at the very end, you show off your final design again. So keep a little time for that. We do have we might be able to go a little over. So let's just say we have 10 minutes left.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to cut my stitches there since we are running out of time. And I know you guys want to get to that giveaway because they are awesome at giveaways. And I'm just going to go over how to fix this piece real easily. And all we're going to do, we've got 2 passes of thread here. So what happens if I pick these stitches out right here? Nothing happens. We can just pick these stitches out right here, these couple, and we're fine. Yes, we'll have to get the stitches off the back, but those stitches are enough to lock that in place. So all you have to do is take these couple of little teeny tiny stitches out where you went off track and you're back on your way. Let's take that one. There we go.
Well, I want to make an announcement. We only have 4 people that have commented on what this artisan template and some of the different artisan templates in our lineup inspire them to want to make, create, or finish. So that means one of the 4 people that commented is going to win that template. So I would recommend that all of you watching right now get over there and tell us what this template design or the series makes you want to create so you can get a chance to win. I'm going to post a link to that post again right now. But that's where you're going to go ahead and tell us what these designs make you want to create or finish or get inspired to get going on. So here's the link for that right now, and I'll get back over.
Okay, while I'm looking at this right now, this is just an idea and just a thought that I had while I see it. That looks kind of like an owl's face, or the bottom wings of a butterfly, or possibly a ladybug. So there's many different designs that you could do just based on this one little thing. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way, bring back the other design again, and show you kind of what the finished design looks like. And I'm going to get the red piece real quick. It looks like it fell over on the floor. Yes, it did. But you can see the drawing if you go around all the different times. In the center, this is what the stitch out looks like in the center. It makes a lovely little flower in the center. Hopefully you can see that. And then this lovely flower on the outside. And as soon as the stitching is done, I would pull up the different parts of the template that I wanted to do, or I would do my free motion, or like I said, you could even use your circles and straights tool to do some decorative stitching in the middle. So I hope you all get inspired by using the Artisan curves, because there are many, many, many amazing things you can do with them. All right, Stacy, give them some stuff.
That's awesome, Julie. You might show them that the drawing that you did again, because that really detailed out what you were able to do with that design once it's all finished up. And then I think what they're going to want to see, Julie, is they're going to want to see you post this onto Westerly by Me when you get it all done. What do you guys think?
I certainly will, guys.
I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to pick a winner, give everybody one last chance to do that. So while I am picking a winner, maybe you can tell them just the final details of what you're going to do to finish this block up.
Well, what I'm going to do once I get this all finished out, the little C's on this diagram are everything I'm going to cut away to template. So the little circles that I made in the petals on the other stitch out that we did together, these little circles are all going to be cut away. I'm going to cut this little area right here away. I'm probably going to cut this area here away and reveal the peeker fabric. And then on the middle part here, I am going to use my circles and straights tool and play around with my decorative stitches on this machine that I paid so much for. So I can use some of those decorative stitches to fill in this design. And depending on if I think this is worth cutting away, I might either cut this middle part away for the template, or these little bitty petals that are made by using half of that design. But I will certainly post that on Westerly by Me as soon as I get it finished stitched out.
I love it. All right. Well, we have officially picked a winner. And again, this is from the comments that were on that Facebook post that we sent over there, posted a couple days ago for a chance to win the Artisan template. And drum roll, please. The winner is going to be Barbara Ann White. Barbara Ann, you are the winner of an Artisan template of your choice. I highly encourage you to take a look at the entire lineup that we have of the Artisan line on our Sew City website and see which one might be your favorite. I know that Julie has showed off a few of the templates that we have in our sampler set of Artisan designs today, as well as some others. But here's a link to all the artists Artisans, and you can check out what those are all about right here. And again, thank you all so much for joining us for Template Tasting Fridays. Again, thank you, Julie, for stepping up and being able to kind of fill in for us. We had one of our educators that wasn't able to make it today at the last minute. So Julie was able to take this on with just a short notice, which we really appreciate. It was so fun to see her teach. So we appreciate you doing that, Julie, and appreciate all of you for joining us for Template Taking Friday. We've got a whole new lineup of education for you coming next week. You know what I wanted to do for a real quick sec is I wanted to tease you guys and get you excited about something we've got rolling out here in less than a month. So I'm going to show you a couple of pieces of inspiration that are going to get you excited about a brand new template lineup that we're bringing you, and we're launching this lineup on October 20th. So it's going to be a whole bunch of education classes and more. And Julie is helping us with that as well. So please join us in our product launch. We've got information on our Sioux City Facebook page, as well as we've emailed out information. We can't wait to share that with you on a full day of education, again, coming up on October 20th. So sign up for that. Lots of chances to win live, and if you can't make it, we'll have lots of chances to win there as well. Julie, any final words for everyone?
Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you had a fun time and get to using those artisan curve templates. They're so fun to play with.